If you're ready, let's start now. Today is 18th unit, no? So yesterday we have completed 17th, the personal disorders, cluster A, cluster B, cluster C. And now it is 18th unit, unit 18th in block 4. Okay. Am I audible? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the unit of 18, sexual and gender identity disorders. So here in this disorder, there are some issues related to the sexual issues. So these issues we will discuss today in this 18th unit. As we know, according to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is also one of the major need, the physiological need in human needs like thirst, hunger, other physiological needs. This is also one of the important need for human this thing. So here there are some important factors of this issue. Today we will discuss what are these disorders, number one. Number two, what are the reasons of this particular issues. Third is how to counsel the patients or individuals having this type of issue, that is disorders. Okay, according to DSM-4, Diagnostic Statistical Manual 4, there are three important problems in this disorder. One is gender identity disorder. Second is sexual dysfunction. Third is paraphilias. So these are the three disorders related to sexual and gender identity. According to our DSM-4, these are the three main disorders, three main problems in this sexual disorders. First one is sexual dysfunctioning. Sexual dysfunctioning. Sexual dysfunction is the first one. Second is the gender identity disorder. Third is the dysphagia. So here in the sexual dysfunction means it refers to some sort of disturbance in the actual process. That means there is a disruption in sexual functionings. That is called sexual dysfunctioning disorder. So here in the sexual dysfunction disorder, these reasons, or you can say this disorder, or you can say this problem may be related to some physiological issues, like factors of biological, you can say, like any medical reasons related to their nervous system, reasons related to their testosterone, or you can say estrogen, and some type of reasons related to their painful intercourse. These are all some factors related to the medical aspect, or you can say physiological aspects. Second reason of these first disorder, that means dysfunctional sexual dysfunction disorder. Second reason is the psychological disorders. One is physiological disorders, second is the psychological factors. The psychological factors, the factors of anxiety, stressful condition, or some sort of issues related to the interpersonal issues. So these factors are psychological factors. Third is the social factors, like some type of cultural issues, or you can say social issues, in some dominating systems, dominating cultures, male-dominated societies. So some type of issues, both sides maybe. Then they'll face some issues related to the sexual this thing, functioning. So factors related to the physiological, or you can say biological, medical reasons, like any like system of their nervous system, or any medicational issues, or you can say medical factors, and low level of testosterone or estrogen, or you can say in some cases heavy intake of heavy, it means heavy alcohol consumptions before sex, and some sort of chronic alcoholism. Okay, in some cases, heavy cigarette smoking. So these are all related to the medical factors. Second is the psychological factor. Psychological factors means some type of anxiety and stress-related issues, some interpersonal issues, anger, and it means poor communication between the both these things partners. Okay, so depression, anxiety, panic disorders, and some type of psychological issues related to their maladjustment. Okay, these are all the factors of this is sexual dysfunctional disorder. But here in this sexual dysfunctional disorder, we have some types. Okay, in sexual dysfunctioning, one is lack of desire. Lack of desire. Okay, lack of desire means both sides, from the men's side as well as the women's side. You can see it's a hypoactive sexual disorder. Okay, that means no desire to have sex or little desire. That means one important thing in this particular lack of desire means it may be the little desire or low level of desire. Okay, that is one important thing from the men's side. Second is the aversion. Okay, aversion desire, aversion to have sex. Okay, avoidance of sex, or you can say avoidance of this particular activity. That is from the men's side. And from women's side also, hypoactive sexual desire. Desire means no desire having sex. Okay, and aversion disorder, or you can say aversion to have the activity. That is the desire, no desire of this particular issue. Second is arousal problem of arousal. As I mentioned, first one is the first disorder in this sexual issues is the sexual dysfunctioning. In the sexual dysfunctioning also there are some sub issues. Okay, one is the low desire, or you can say no desire. You can also say it is a hypoactive sexual desire disorder. Number one. So number two is the sexual aversion disorder. Sexual aversion disorder means so not interested in this particular desire. You can say activity. Okay, that is the second one. Third is the arousal disorder, means sexual arousal disorder. Here in this case, both sides, from the male side, you can say it is they won't be in a position to maintaining the erection for required time. Okay, so that means male erectile disorder. You can say it's a male erectile disorder. Then female sexual arousal disorder, that means difficulty attaining or maintaining lubrication. You can say the swelling response. Okay, this is the disorder of arousal. First one is the first type of desire means desire type of desire, or you can say no desire of getting sex. Second is the arousal from the both sides. Okay, so third is the orgasm. See here in this case, so here the issue is from the some type of painful intercourse, you can say, from the both sides. Okay, means some sort of distress. But as we know, this activity is not only physical, it is related to the psychological, as I mentioned in our starting remarks. So here in this activity, mental readiness, or you can say psychological readiness, and physical readiness, both are needed. Without proper readiness from the psychological aspect, forceful, if the physical act is forcefully, activities happened, so what happens? Some sort of painful intercourse, or you can say painful activity, so is possible. So that is the reason this is a type of issue in this sexual issue. Second is the premature ejaculation in case of males. Premature ejaculation means so without the readiness from the other side, from the this female side. So that means premature ejaculation is the problem from the male side. Okay. So, and sexual pain disorder means sexual pain means, for example, without proper readiness from the other side, if it both happens, what happens? Some of the painful experience, both sides will have some sort of painful experiences in their activity. Okay, so that is the one important problem in this sexual dysfunction. I repeat, first one is the no desire type. In sexual dysfunction also, first type is no desire. You can see issue of desire on the male side and the female side. Second is the arousal desire. Arousal desire means male erectile desire. That means difficulty attaining or maintaining the erections at the required time. Okay. And another is the premature ejaculation. Premature ejaculation means the erectile may be not at the time of actual intercourse, actual activity. That means premature ejaculation is before actual time, before actual readiness. From the other side, if the readiness is not there from the psychological physical readiness not happened from the woman's side, premature ejaculation means ejaculating before the actual activity. That means premature ejaculation due to some anxiety, due to some sort of emotions. This is possible in case of male side. Okay, that means premature ejaculation due to their anxiety related to the activity. So because of their anxiety, this type of premature ejaculation is possible from the male side. And from the female side, painful activity, because as I mentioned here in this activity, both psychological readiness, or you can say mental readiness, and physical readiness. When the psychological readiness is possible, then only it is possible from the physical aspects.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to interrupt. Could you please be a little louder, sir? Your voice is breaking in between. Thank you, sir.
I'll check my. Is it okay now? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So we are discussing the sexual dysfunctioning and subtypes of this dysfunctioning. One is, as I mentioned, no desire, or you can say hypoactive sexual desire from the men's side as well as from the women's side. Second is the arousal desire. The arousal subtype desire means erectile disorder, or you can say male erectile disorder. That's both sides. Female sexual arousal disorder means difficulty in attaining or maintaining the erections. That is the arousal disorder. Third is the inhibited male orgasm, or you can say premature ejaculation, and that is from the male side. And from the female side, that is one type of problem with a painful intercourse, or you can say painful, or you can say forceful from the other side. That is also issue in the sexual dysfunctioning. And another one is that disturbances, or you can say interruptions in this actual activity. Okay, some sort of means if so that time is not maintaining from the both sides. As I mentioned, the premature ejaculation is happened, so that is not from both sides. The readiness is not in the same time. Okay, so some sort of distress, or you can say distress from the female side, the premature ejaculation male side, that it affects on the female readiness. Okay, that means some distressful, or you can say painful situation may be possible in the sexual intercourse. Okay, so this is all one. This is all related to the sexual dysfunctioning. Okay. Then second one is the gender identity disorder. Gender identity disorder. Gender identity disorder means, so in some cases they're doubtful about their characteristics. I can say sexual characteristics. Okay, gender identity disorder is identified in people who believe that they are of the opposite sex, and these type of individuals, they feel, for example, the boys, they feel I may not be my characteristics, or you can say my system, my bodily structure may not be suited to the boys. They think that they believe that they are not boys, though they are boys, but they feel that they have some sort of characteristics of the girls. Okay, the same way, the girls, though they are girls, but they feel, they believe that their characteristics or their symptoms, their body structure is not suitable to the girl. This thing, they feel, they believe that they are of opposite sex. That is known as the gender identity disorder. The identification of their own sex is in some confused state. That is the reason we call it as a gender identity disorder. So here for this gender identity disorders, as I mentioned, some sexual dysfunctionings also. The reasons of the sexual dysfunction is, as I mentioned, one is the medical factors or medical reasons. Second is the reasons related to the psychological aspects. Like medical reasons means some system, like means chromosomal deficiency, we can say hormonal deficiency, hormonal imbalances. Okay. And reasons related to their heavy alcohol consumption, or you can say heavy cigarette smoking, and some type of chronic alcoholism, and nervous system problem with the nervous system, and some sort of issues related to the low level of testosterone or estrogen. These are all the reasons related to the medical factors. Okay. Second is the psychological reasons. If they have any psychological issues like anger, anxiety, emotional issues like fear, anger, and stress-related issues, and some type of depression. Okay, so anxiety, stressful condition situations. These are all factors, or you can say causes or reasons of the psychological aspect. And some social factors, or you can say cultural factors also leads to some sexual dysfunctioning disorders. Okay, now here in the same in the particular gender identity disorder also. In gender identity disorders also, there are some factors or you can say reasons. Okay, the reasons may be biological, as I mentioned, biological reasons, and some reasons related to the some reasons related to the childhood experiences. Okay, so for example, repeatedly stated desire to be or instance of their characteristics. If somebody is asking about their characteristics, or you can say their symptoms, their functioning of their normal life, daily functioning issues. So due to these childhood experience, you can say bitter experiences. So this type of gender identity disorder is possible on the both sides, on the male side as well as the female side. So one criteria of gender identity disorder is that, so repeatedly they'll think whether they are the same gender or not. For example, in boys, they'll think some sort of characteristic symptoms are not suited to their uh, uh, boys' characteristics or symptoms. And and one more thing is that in boys they will prefer to dress like girls. Okay, and in girls they'll try to wear like the boys' dresses are. Okay, so and their role, cross-sex role, means they believe that some sort of problem with their characteristics, or you can say they will be in the persistent fantasies of being the other sex. Okay, so the boys, they'll think, they'll fantasize of, they dream, they'll think, they'll imagine themselves as some other sex. Okay, so and another characteristic of this gender identity disorder is that intense desire to participate in the games or the activities of the other sex. So here, for example, if the boys, they'll have a desire to participate in the activities of girls. The girls are desired so to participate in the activities or you can say games of the boys. Okay. Another characteristic is that strong preference for playmates of the other sex. They want to play, for example, boys want to play to the other girls. The girls, they wanted to play with the other sex, like boys. So these are the characteristics of the gender identity disorder. So again, I repeat. So repeatedly stated desire to be the other sex. Okay, that is number one. Preference for cross-dressing, like girls, they want to dress as boys, and the boys, they want to dress as the girls. Okay, and one the third is the third. They want to play the cross-sex role. That means make-believe play or persistent fantasies of being the other sex, or you can say cross-sex roles, and strong preference for playmates of the other sex. Okay, so here these are all the characteristics of the gender identity disorder. Okay. Am I clear? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. Okay. So the second type of disorder in the sexual dysfunction. One is the sexual dysfunction. Second is the gender identity disorder. Okay. So third one is the third type of sexual disorder is paraphilias. In paraphilias, there are so many issues related to the paraphilias. In paraphilias, one is the we have some other types of subtypes of paraphilias. One is the it is exhibition, means they will exhibit their organs, sexual organs to others. That is one individual having they want to see the individuals undressing or naked. This type of characteristic in this voyeurism and exhibitism. In exhibitism, they'll exhibit their sexual organs to others. That is one important characteristic of this exhibitionism. And in voyeurism, they want to see the person's individuals, or you can say individual undressing or naked. Okay, this is one type of philophilias. Okay, so in philophilia, this is the one type of issue related to the exhibitism, or you can say voyeurism. Then third one is the fetishism, means here in this fetishism, they'll they want to have the sex with some type of can say non-living objects. Okay, so they want to have this type of they want to get some sexual desire. They want to fulfill their sexual desire with some other objects. Okay, this is one type of symptom, some type of subtype of philophobia. Then in phrotisma, that is another thing. This in this particular area in philophobia, in this particular subtype, so their interest is some sort of interest is with the rubbing of their. They'll show they don't want to have the actual sex, but they'll in different way they want to have the sex, like without the other opposite person. Without you can say non-human things like without the person, non-presenting person for sexual gratification. Okay, so they will have the interest in rubbing usually one's pelvis or erect penis, so against a non-consenting person for sexual gratification. So this is also one subtype in the paraphilia. As I mentioned, first one is the exhibitism, means so they'll expose their genitals to unsuspecting strangers, or you can say they want to show their organs to some other strangers. That is one type of. Secondly, they want to see the naked person undressed in paraphilia. Second type of is voyeurism, means so here is the practice of observing to become aroused on unsuspecting individuals undressing or naked. They'll have this type of arousal. As we mentioned, as we know, there are some stages of sex. One is arousal. So they'll have arousal. The person that who are having this type of desire, they'll arousal only if they see the undressing or naked person. Then only the arousal is possible in this particular issue, or you can see this particular subtype of paraphilia. That is the second one. Third is that so they'll have the sexual desire. They'll fulfill their sexual desire with some sort of non-living objects. Okay, that is known as the petition. Okay, and another one is the they will fulfill their sexual desire. This type of persons, they'll fulfill they want to fulfill their this sexual desire by rubbing or some sort of without any consent, without any person. Okay, so they'll want to fulfill their sexual desire by doing some activities without the person. Okay, they will show the interest in rubbing and other type of procedures they'll follow for their fulfillment of the desire. Okay. Another type of paraphilia is that, so here in this, you can see it's a fetishism. So in this fetishism, sexual arousal is strongly associated with the act of dressing in class of the opposite sex, or you can say cross-dressing. They feel that they want to fulfill their sexual desires with the association of the other dressing, or you can say wearing other dresses like opposite sex dresses. Okay, so sexual arousal is strongly as these people's sexual arousal is associated with the act of dressing or dressing in clothes of the opposite sex, or you can say cross dressing. By doing this type of activities like wearing the dresses of other sex, they want to fulfill their sexual desire. This is also one type of sexual problem. Okay, okay. Then sexual sadism. Sexual sadism is so forcefully. In some cases, some individuals they'll be so satisfied by doing the forceful sex, or you can say a sadistic rape, or you can say. Okay, forceful sex means so without the consent of the others, without as I mentioned, physical and psychological cooperation from the other side. So this type of forceful activities, forceful sexual activities, they wanted to do. Okay, so that is also one type of, I can say, one subtype of paraphilia. Okay, so why? Because they have a sexual gratification by doing this forceful activities. So these are the various types of paraphilia. As I mentioned, first one is sexual dysfunctioning, means in some part of disturbances, distracted sexual activities. That is sexual dysfunctioning, number one. Number two is the sexual gender identity disorder. Gender identity disorder. So they won't believe on the sexual characteristics. Okay, so gender identity disorder is identified in people who believe they are of the opposite sex. They feel that they are the opposite sex. That means gender identity. They want to identify their gender. That is known as, that is the reason this is known as the gender identity disorder. Okay, and third one is the paraphilia. Demonstrate in unusual sexual activities. That is known as the paraphilias. Paraphilias is the activity, or you can say sexual activity with some other unusual sexual measure, or you can say unusual sexual activities, or you can say objects. Here also there are some subtypes as I mentioned. Okay, paraphilias. So here, after discussing the various characteristics of each, various symptoms of each, sexual dysfunctioning, gender identity disorder, and paraphilias. Now again, we will discuss about what are the reasons of these particular sexual disorders. The reasons means, one is the medical reasons, second is the biological reasons, third is the psychological reasons, fourth is the social or cultural factors. Okay, then what is the treatment here in this cases? Okay, here if the problem is with the medical reasons, or you can say medical factors, so better to ask the client or the individual to consult any medical professionals, because if there is any issues related to their, as I mentioned, related to their low level of testosterone or estrogen, if there is any issue related to their nervous dysfunction, they are usually look at the medical aspect. Okay. Better to the client to consult a medical practitioner. That is number one. The treatment is the first part. Second is as a psychological person, if the issues related to their heavy consumption of the alcohol or uh, heavy cigarette smoking, or you can say chronic alcoholism. Okay, these three are there. So, as I mentioned, we have already discussed the substance abuse disorders. So here, if these substances are one of the reasons of this particular sexual dysfunctioning, so better to give the proper counseling to reduce their heavy intake of cigarettes or heavy cigarette smoking, or you can say chronic alcoholism, or if the alcohol consumption is heavy alcohol consumption. If you find these type of reasons, so we know also we have this already. So what are the psychological procedures or psychological counseling systems we follow in the same psychological counseling procedures? We can proceed here in these cases. Okay, if the problem is with the other psychological reasons like depression, anxiety, if there is any panic disorders or problem of stress related issues, okay, better to address these stressful relation issues, or if the problem is with the anxiety, or in some cases, so some personality disorders also will they'll have some sort of personality disorder, as I mentioned, some sort of obsessive thoughts. Okay, so obsessive compulsory personality disorder, if this type of obsessions, if we find any type of obsessions, obsessive thoughts related to their sexual functionings or sexual activities, better to address that type of, better to solve this type of psychological issues like stressful conditions or anxiety. Okay, or there is any obsessive compulsory obsessions related to the sexual issues. So as a psychologist, the responsibility to, and if the problem is with the emotional issues. Emotional issues means anger. Okay, anger, fear. Okay, so if we find this type anxiety, if we find this type of emotional issues, if we find these are the causes of their sexual issues, better to solve, better to address these type of stressful issues, stressful conditions, anxiety or other emotional issues like fear or anger. Okay, generally most of the cases like premature ejaculation. Okay, so anxiety is the major factor of this premature ejaculation. Or if the erectile issues also, if we find any sort of erectile issues, erectile dysfunctionings, okay, or you can say erectile dysfunctionings or the premature ejaculation. So these type of issues purely related to the anxiety, or you can say if they are anxious, then only they will have this type of anxiety. And these are also issues. These issues also better to address. In some cases, some sort of obsessive thoughts, obsessions, we can say some type of negative belief system leads some type of issues in the sexual issues. For example, in some cases, they'll think that they have some sort of fear. They'll feel that they are not up to the mark to perform this type of activity because of their negative feeling, because of their negative thinking. So they'll have some sort of misunderstandings. For example, masturbation. Okay, some individuals they have the habit of masturbation before the marriage, but this is not a major issue. So they think I am having the habit of masturbation before the marriage. So that is the reason I may not be in a position to perform sex perfectly. That is the misunderstanding. But as a modern modern procedures, masturbation is not at all a problem. But that means the limited times per day or per week, twice or thrice in a week. So that is quite normal. If they are only focusing on this particular activity without any normal functioning, then only it is a problematic. Otherwise, so if their functionings are normal, only twice or thrice in a week, this type of masturbation habit is there in individuals. It's not at all a problem. This type of counseling as a psychologist, in order to change their thought process, in order to change their negative belief system. So actually gender identity disorder also that some sort of childhood experiences. So leads this type of gender identity disorder. Dear students, whether you believe it or not, nowadays, if you observe any online counseling systems, okay, we have toll-free number or any online counseling systems, nearly 50 to 60% calls to, if you're aware of it or not, I don't know. I have had experience of this previous toll-free number from nearly 4 to 5 years. I was for that toll-free number. Happens previously some 10 years back or 12 years or 15 years back. Nobody is ready to discuss, nobody is ready to take the form of HIV or AIDS. And 20 years back, 25 years back, like 15 to 20 years back. When the persons of individuals started to discuss about the AIDS and the HIV, now that is somehow it is solved, the issue is somehow it is addressed. When we discuss about the issues, then only it is possible to give some sort of solution to the particular issues. Same way being a psychological professionals. So as I mentioned here, so many cases nowadays. So if these issues are unsolved, if you are not addressing this issue, so what happens? Some sort of negative impact on the families, negative impact on the person, negative impact on the society. So that is the reason I am discussing. Yeah, now here if there is any depression or any anxiety or stressful relationships, so we'll better to address those issues with our psychological counseling. Okay. Yeah. Then even the other type of, as I mentioned, therapies. In therapies also some type of activities, yes, unusual sexual activities. So here, better to explain the consequences of this particular issue. Actually, what happens, why they go to that extent means, if the problem is having any communication with the other partner, other spouse. So here, social skills also is better to improve. Communication skills. If there is any problem with other partner, after getting married, if there's any issue with other party in this particular sexual related issue, better to discuss each and every aspect. Okay, so that is the reason social skills are, you can say, communicative skills also, we need to observe if it is there or not. What are the reasons of not discussing with other partner? As a psychological professional. And any problem related to their fear, as I mentioned, some sort of fear, some sort of obsessive thoughts. These type of dysfunctionings as well as yes. Okay, so these are all the issues we need to. And as I mentioned, being a psychological professional, being a psychologist, counseling psychologist, any sort of psychological issues, dysfunction or gender identity, etc. So we need to find out the reason, the cause of such an issue. When we identify the actual reason of this issue, so it is easy to solve the issue with the help of some other clients, or you can say both partners. And if the paraphilia is, as I mentioned, some subtypes of paraphilia using some non-living objects, or you can say some types of unusual practices. What are the consequences? So, for example, as I mentioned, ABC. So the belief system is that they are not satisfied with that actual procedure. They believe that. So some type of satisfaction will have. They strongly believe that satisfaction is not up to the mark in the actual procedures. That is the reason. They wrongly believe. They will start there using of some unusual methods. What happens? So whatever the consequences, we need to explain to the clients, the individuals. Wherever the problem is there, so better to discuss with the other partner. That is the actual solution. But due to their poor interpersonal skills and some sort of issues related to their interpersonal skills, interpersonal relations, they will start doing this type of unusual activities, start being in the unusual sexual practices. What happens? So their wrong belief system leads them to do the activity. As I mentioned, in ABC model, wrong belief system with the wrong activated event. Then what happens? Consequences. In some cases, I heard some from the complaints, they will do the masturbation even after marriage. Instead of discussing their issue with other partner, what happens? They are doing the same practice, whatever they do, they have able to do in the previous days, that means before marriage, the same practices continue even after marriage also. If there is any problem with their activity, any problem with their satisfaction issues, better to discuss with the other partner. But instead of doing this, what they are doing, what are their habits there before the marriage? Maybe the alcoholism, cigarette smoking, or some sort of other, as I mentioned, masturbation, like these things. So they'll continue even after marriage also. So they wrongly believe that, so they'll get satisfaction with these unusual measures, unusual sexual activities. So that is the reason with their wrong belief system, they will do their activities, wrong, unusual activities. The consequences will be automatically in a negative way. So by using this ABC model, so better to modify their belief system, better to change their wrong belief system to the right way. So what we suggest means ask them to discuss whatever your issues with your partner, so that the issue will be resolved. So their activity will be in a normal, in a positive way. So the consequence are in a positive way. That is number one. And CRT, as I mentioned, cognitive restructuring. They think, their thought process, their understanding, their analysis. If the cognition is in negative side, better to restructuring their cognition, better to restructuring their thought process, better to restructuring their analysis in their process. Okay. So ABC model or CRT, and it may be any behavioral issues. For example, the small children, actually they are supposed to focus on their regular activities. But they won't focus on the regular activities of the studies or what are the activity, daily living activities. They focus on their presentation of their gender, some other subject. Here behavior modification is needed here. And in some cases, especially some cases related to the adolescent people, when they attain the age of the 12 years or 13 years, when they reach the stage of adolescent, or you can see teenage, like 12 years or 13 years, they'll have some sort of secondary sexual characteristics. They think, why I need to face all those things? Better to change my identity. Got it? For time being, they will think that once they start thinking that way, this will go on in their next level. So if we find, if the parents are, if we are the psychological professional, the parents, the help of the parents, if we find that type of thought process, or you can say the way we think, so better to change their behavior. As I mentioned, the masturbation. So they think in their behavior, they wrongly believe that this is some sort of this odd, or you can say abnormal activity. That is the reason they won't focus on their studies. When we have worked with the toll-free number by the state government of these issues, when we received nearly 70 calls per day, out of the 60 calls, nearly 30 to 40 calls, means 50 to 60 plus calls from these children only, this type of issues from the adolescent people. I am the parent of masturbating. So how to stop it? What happens if I get married? Those questions we use it to receive from the clients, adolescent people. Abnormality. In some cases, they won't get married, so they'll think that I'm not a person, I'm not suitable to get married. So here, as I mentioned, sexual dysfunction, gender identity issues, unusual practices, unusual sexual practices. Better to offer psychological counseling by using this, as I mentioned. So that their belief system or their emotional issues what happens? These type of issues prolonged for their years together, months together, their normal functionings, their occupational issues, okay, and daily living activities. These are all will be badly affected, adversely affect on these issues, no? Their occupational, their stressful conditions. Any doubt? Hello.
No, sir.
So what is the full form of DSM-TR? It's given a paraphilia defined by DSM-4-TR.
Diagnostic Statistical Manual.
D stands for, sir?
Diagnostic and Statistical Manual.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. And TR, sir?
It is transfer. Continuous will be changed from one side. From now it is fourth. Now it is fifth one.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. ICD is the internal classification of disorders.
Thank you.
Now we are discussing in every unit DSM-4 and ICD-10. Each and every psychological thing, psychological issue. As I mentioned in the previous class, also the axis 1, axis 2, axis 3, axis 4, axis 5.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
In axis 1, there are some disorders. In axis 2, there are some disorders. Axis 3, some disorders, like substance related disorders. Axis 4, some disorders. Okay. This DSM is the product of APA. What is APA? American Psychological Association. APA. American Psychological Associations. This classification of DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual classification, is given by American Psychological Association.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
And ICD-10 is the International Classification of Disorders. For every 5 years, 6 years, or 10 years, this will be changed. The version will be changed. Previously DSM-3, then DSM-4. Now within 3 or 4 years, DSM-5 also they are going to release version 5. Same way, ICD-9 previously some 10 years, 12 years. Now ICD-10, now it is going to release the ICD-10, International Classification of Disorders.
The DSM-5 is actually already there, no? In our textbooks, we have till DSM-4.
That is the reason, yes. Our textbooks is not latest textbooks. No?
Correct.
It is some 5 years back. No?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we, for the exams, we need to just know
whatever
about...
you mentioned in the maybe because as the evaluator, we know it very well.
Okay. Thank you.
You're all, especially myself, I know it very well.
Definitely, sir. I was aware of it. Yeah.
In examination, if you mention DSM-4 is fine.
That's also good.
Right? Even DSM-5, if you mention, I have well versed about all these things.
Great, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
For example, if you go to nowadays, if you want to go for the psychiatric hospital, they mention on the file inpatient or outpatient.
Correct.
According to DSM-5, this is the type of, this is the problem of the client. According to ICD-10.
Correct.
Okay, even after completion of their medicine and other specialized branches, then they are supposed to in MD or MS or the DBM courses, no? In this DNB courses, no? In the DNB of psychiatry, the PG students, the doctor, they are supposed to mention DSM.
Yes, correct.
ICD-10 and ICD-11, no?
Yes, sir.
In the examination, if they fail in the post level, in the psychiatry medical professional, they are the students of PG level, psychiatry PG level. They want to write some type of, for example, they want to write the sexual dysfunction disorder in their examination point of view. They are supposed to mention latest versions.
So ICD you said is international?
ICD means International Classification Disorder.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Additional classification.
Classification.
Okay. So we move to the next one. Is it okay? Any doubt here in this? I mentioned very clearly all the three different. One is sexual dysfunction disorder, the symptoms of sexual dysfunction disorders, then gender identity disorders, symptoms of gender identity disorder, paraphilia, various types of subtypes of paraphilia, and causes or reasons. Then psychological treatment, psychological professionals, the role of psychological professionals. Still any doubt?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, we have some other 20-25 minutes time. Better to go for the next one. That is block 5. We have another 3 classes. No, now it is the 5th class. Another, I think 3 classes. So we have 5 units. We will start the 19th unit today. It is possible. If is some part of this 19th unit will complete, then the rest of the thing will see the next week. So here, the 5th block, or you can say block 5. We have 5 units in the block 5. One is biological therapies. Second is behavioral therapy 1. Third unit is behavioral therapy 2. And societal response to maladaptive behavior, levels of prevention, the challenges of prevention. These are the 5 units in this 5th block. Okay. Now, here 19th unit biological therapies. Then what is a therapy first? Daily we are using this therapy, especially in our psychopathology. What is therapy?
Therapy means treatment, sir.
Treatment, sir, treatment.
Okay.
A solution to a psychological problem.
Yeah. So therapy generally actually is psychotherapy. Okay. Psychotherapy. Psycho means what is psycho?
Mind.
Yeah. Psycho. Actually, psycho is not a psychological term.
So, Latin.
Got it? Psycho is a general term. Psyche is our actual term. Psychology means psyche and logos. The term psychology is derived from the 2 Greek words. One is psyche, another is the logos. Yes? Psyche,
Yes.
soul or mind.
Psyche, mind, logos means study, sir.
Yes.
Study of mind.
Well, now also you will explain the same way. Psychology means psyche, so study of soul or study of mind. Now she not. What is psychology? Anyone?
Sir, it's a study of behavior, sir. Human behavior.
Then, but actually, literary meaning is study of.
Study of psyche, sir, mind.
Psyche means mind. The way we respond to certain situations.
Situations.
It's a study of mental processes.
Yes, sir. Study of mental process and behavior, sir.
But in literary meaning, study of soul, study of mind, why you change the definition? Is there any reason for that?
It is interrelated, sir. Behavior and mind, mental process are interrelated.
Is that previously we used to, and now even literary meaning of psychology, literary meaning of psychology is study of soul or study of mind. Now, why we are the study of behavior. Is there any reason behind it? Anyone?
Sorry, sir, your question again?
So when we talk of mind, it comes under cognitive let's say process.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and there can be variation. There can be variations in the mind. But soul, when you say, we can say it's somewhat concerned to the affective domain. Where yeah.
Sir, this behavior is outcome of mental process only.
No, my question is that actually the literary meaning of psychology is the study of mind or study of soul, especially study of the first meaning of psychology, the study of soul.
Yes, sir.
Now, why this study of soul and study of mind is changing? Now we are talking about the study of behavior or mental process.
That's bringing about a change in one's behavior, no, sir?
That's good. That's good.
Behavior affects other people, sir. If it is something inside mind, we don't bother. Because of his behavior only, we are affected, sir.
Affected.
Because of our behavior, our relationship, and our performance, everything is depending on our behavior only.
Sir, behavior is what we express outside, and based on that only entire psychology revolves, sir. Why the person is behaving like that? That is expressed outside. So what are the mental process going inside him? Like behavior is a main, because of behavior only we can predict the things, we can assess the things, sir.
Yeah, it is measurable, sir, qualitatively and quantitatively, both aspects.
Okay, your answers are fine, but still I want to explain one important thing. So why they used to use the term soul in ancient times?
A small simple example. Yes. So a simple example, like a person
According to
is thinking to cause harm to the other person. Okay. So that is a thought process. So mind, the mind is functioning there. He is thinking to cause a harm to the other person. Okay. And behavior, he expresses it. He has done a harm to the other person. Now, what happens is like his soul is affected because he had harmed a person. So he's got that guilt feeling. So that can lead to his mental depression and so on. So basically, this is all interlinked where the thought process is finally being, put into practice, and then that is affecting his soul.
So one more point, it's a modifiable, sir. Behavior is a modifiable.
But I think in earlier times, they were not much aware of the mind. They used to, like a human body has a soul. They used to, think so far. The intelligence level was only so far. Eventually, as we learned in the history of psychology, how it developed over so many decades and centuries, then they could connect with the mind. And so it is a study of soul and mind both today.
Let's see, in ancient age, in some years back, this psychology was not the full subject. It was a branch of philosophy. Psychology was the branch of philosophy.
Yeah.
So the philosophy thinkers, they always think about the soul. Got it? Again, there are various schools, different schools in the philosophy, like idealism, naturalism, and pragmatism. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Part of our thought process, or you can say behavior, whatever it may. And this psychology was the main branch of philosophy in the olden days, ancient times. That was the reason they defined psychology as the study of
Mind.
soul.
Soul.
Then soul or mind. Because in idealistic thinkers, like even naturalism, even pragmatism, right? Especially in the idealistic thinking of philosophy, idealism school of philosophy, they strongly believe that soul is the major part of our life or activities. That is the reason. That was the reason they used it to term as the soul. The mind. Psychology, the study of soul, the of mind. After that, Sigmund Freud derived that. He defined that psychology is the study of consciousness. This is all the historical background of the psychology. First, they used to define psychology as the study of soul, then study of mind. Then Sigmund Freud defined psychology as the study of consciousness. Then J.B. Watson and Woodworth, they finally studied all these various definitions, and finally they used it to use the term of behavior. That is the reason initially the definition of psychology is the study of soul. Is it okay? Got it? Any doubts still?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Clear. Sir.
Yes, sir. Got it, sir.
Yeah. Yes. So now those are the behavioral thinkers, behavioristic thinkers. Or you can say the first scientists of supporters of behaviorist or behaviorist is the J.B. Watson and Woodworth. Yeah. Now our topic is that. So what is the psychopathology? Psychotherapy. Psycho means soul. Therapy means treatment. So here in this psychotherapy, the soul, or you can say mind, we need to treat the soul or mind. Here, being a therapist, being a psychologist, being a counseling psychologist, we need to maintain some sort of interpersonal relations with the client, so that we can easily study the soul or mind of the person, of the client, of the individual. By using this type of psychotherapy, so you will directly connect it to the mind or soul of the client, so that you can easily understand his thought process, emotions, and the behaviors. Got it? Here in the psychotherapy, as a psychologist, we are supposed to understand his mind or his soul by studying his thought process, or you can say cognition, emotion, and behaviors. The three important domains of the individual's thought process. One is cognition, the way he is understanding, the way he is analysis, the way he is interpretations. That is the first domain, cognitive domain. Second is the affect domain. Affect means emotions. Third is the behavior, or you can say cognitive, psychomotor domain. Okay. Yes. In this therapies, in the psychotherapy, there are some biological therapies, some are the non-biological therapies. In the 19th unit, we are discussing the therapy. I can say biological therapy. therapies first. Overall therapies are, some therapies are related to biological therapies. Some therapies are classified as the non-biological therapies. In this 19th unit, we will discuss the biological therapies. Okay. In biological therapies, one is the drug therapy, second is the electroconvulsive therapy, third is the psychosurgery. These three are known as the biological therapy. Just we need to understand as a student, as a PG psychology students, we are supposed to understand these biological therapies, but we are not supposed to use these therapies. Got it?
Why, sir?
So these drugs, how can we suggest the drugs by means? Hello? Hello? So here,
sorry to disturb you. Ask this Satyanarayana to mute, sir. Because of him, lot of background noise is coming, sir.
Satyanarayana.
Bijli Satyanarayana.
Sir, mute.
It's unmuted. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Here in as I mentioned, there are three important therapies in biological system. One is drug therapy. Second is the electroconvulsive therapy. Third is the psychosurgery. Somebody is asking about why we can't do this. How can we do the psychosurgery? How can we suggest the drugs? So we can't just be as an examination point of view, or the students, we can understand, we can study these things, but we can't apply these biological therapies. We can't use it. Okay. First one is a drug therapy. Drug therapy means it is chemotherapy. Drug therapy is also known as the chemotherapy. Okay. So these are all the therapies. Only medical professionals they suppose they'll do this biological therapies. So one is drug therapy. In drug therapy, some types, again, in drug therapy, there are some types of drug therapies. One is psychoactive drugs. Psychoactive drugs means, for example, if the person is some problem with the thought process, or you can say the thought process is not up to the mark. So drugs that alter the way a person thinks or behaves are called psychoactive drugs. If they behave, if they think in a different way, these type of drugs, they'll suggest to use, the doctors will suggest the person to change their thought process. Okay, that is one type of drug that is known as the psychoactive drugs, number one. Number two is antipsychotic drugs. These drugs help in blocking the receptors. Some sort of neurotransmitters will be affected. Those neurotransmitters are not functioning in their proper way. That is the reason antipsychotic drugs the doctors will suggest. I can say psychiatric doctors will suggest the antipsychotic drugs. Okay, in drug therapy, one is the psychoactive drugs to change their behavior or to change their thought process. Or you can say the way they think, they want to change their thought process or behavior. Psychoactive drugs, antipsychotic drugs. Is any problem with the neurotransmitters? So antipsychotic medicines are drugs to be suggested, especially for treatment of the schizophrenia. That is the second one. Third is the antidepressive drugs. antidepressive drugs means there is any depression, severe depression or major depression, to control the depressive symptoms. These type of antidepressive drugs doctors suggest. Next one is anti-manic drug. So these drugs are used for the bipolar disorders like manic depression, mania. Okay. For example, lithium. Lithium is the anti-depressive drug, or you can say anti-bipolar or manic depression is there. If you find any manic depression, the doctors will suggest the drugs. That is anti-manic drugs, anti-mania drugs. Next one is the anti-anxiety drugs. So these type of drugs, they'll help in reducing the symptoms of anxiety. As I mentioned, in drug therapy, there are some types of drugs, or 5 types of drugs. One is the psychoactive drugs, antipsychotic drugs, antidepressive drugs, anti-manic drugs, and anti-anxiety drugs. Okay. This is the first type of biological therapy, that is drug therapy. Second is the electroconvulsive therapy, ECT. In electroconvulsive therapy, some type of electrodes on each side of the head, and an alternating current usually uses this AC current will be using in this treatment. This is one type of electric convulsive therapy, or you can say electrode, some type of electromagnetic therapy, or you can say electroconvulsive therapy, ECT. For example, if there is any severe cases of depression, severe cases of schizophrenia, if they want to, as I mentioned in the previous classes when we are discussing about the schizophrenia, in the starting, like the patient is admitted as inpatient, at least for 3-4 days, it's not so easy to give any psychiatric counseling. First of all, they need to change their thought process first. Initially, they are the electrotransmitters if the severity is more. The electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, is also one of the, there are some conditions to be fulfilled. Comorbidities. This ECT won't be worked out. By observing all the other are the comorbidities of the patient and the age, the severity. These are the various factors they'll observe before suggesting for ECT, means electroconvulsive therapy. In all psychiatric hospitals, this ECT, like biological therapy, is suggestible. but depending on the conditions of the client. That is the second type of biological therapy. Third is the psycho surgery. Surgeries like brain surgeries needed to treat some severe issues of the brain related problems. But some side effects are possible in this surgeries, or you can say psychosurgeries. So for the severe issue like psychosurgery is the neurosurgery for mental disorders. It is a neuropsychological treatment of mental disorders, and this psychosurgery is suggested or suggestible to the severe patients of psychological disorders. Okay, so there is a chance of some side effects, some type of objections also, dangerous behavior also, some type of serious effects also may be occurred by giving this type of biological treatment, especially psychosurgery. So these are the three biological therapies. The rest of the non-biological therapies we'll discuss later. I repeat, biological therapies are three. One is drug therapy. As I mentioned, there are 5 types of drug therapies. That is psychoactive drugs, antipsychotic drugs, antidepressant drugs, and anti-manic drugs, anti-anxiety types of various types of drug therapies. Second is the electroconvulsion therapy. Third is the psychosurgery. Any doubt? Hello.
Sir, in the psychosurgery, will they, do this surgery of the brain, as you said? Is it a particular part or, the whole of the brain? Hello? Excuse me, sir.
The rest of the things we will discuss in the rest of the topic we will discuss in the okay.